This is the Tranquillusionist, in which I, Helen Zaltzman, say a series of words not to impart information as usual, but to relax your mind, replace a hectic interior monologue, maybe lull you to sleep, hopefully quell the mental uproar just for a little while. There are several previous editions of the Tranquillusionist in your pod feed, or you can find them at theallusionist.org/tranquillusionist. Hitting the Tranquillusionist tab at the top of the website will also take you to them. They include lists of ex-constellations, gay animals, types of salad, and all the previous winners of the Westminster Dog Show. In this edition, we have Great British and Irish cheeses. You would think there would be a definitive list of these. There's not. I did my best to compile one that is at least fulsome, if incomplete. There are many hundreds of cheeses in this region. And before that, there is a list of the many, many different names for woodlice, so content warning for bugs. Just because I think they might trip people's phobias of certain kinds of creature, they're actually crustaceans. In fact, the only crustaceans that live entirely on land, earning them the subcategory of terrestrial isopod. They probably existed before the continents separated, so they're found across the world, and there are many different kinds and so many different names, some of which are really cute. Rather boringly, I've only ever known them as woodlice, even though, according to a recent linguistic study of British names for them, the south of England, where I'm from, has the most names knocking around. Let me know what you call them. On with the Tranquillusionist. Names for the creature Armadillidae, aka the woodlouse, aka the following: woodbug, woodywig, bricklouse, pillbug, pellet bug, potato bug, armadillo bug, curly bug, roll into ball, rolypoly, roll-up bug, because a lot of kinds of woodlouse roll themselves up, or conglobate, if you want a big word for big word club. They also have blood that is grey or blue. They breathe through gills on their undersides. They urinate in the form of gas, which sounds so convenient, and drink through their bums. Why isn't this reflected in any of the names? One of their other names is bedpisser, though. That's attributed to woodlice usually being found in damp environments. They're not damp because they pissed there. Woodlice need moisture because if their undercarriage gills dry up, they can't breathe, but they can't live in water because they can't swim. Curler, cruller, carpenter, carpenter's flea, carbender, slater, slatero, slateroo, slaterick, slaty, slateback, flatback, hardback, hardyback, hookerback, greyback, silverback, shellback, shellyback, knit. Forky tailor, forky goller, ashbug, twiddlebug, sourbug, cellerbug, cement bug, watermelon bug, basketball bug, doodle bug, bead bug, worry bead bug, bench biter, boat builder, shoemaker. Bomber jacket, leather jacket, grandfather's jacket, grandfather. Granny grey, granny grunter, daddy gramfer, gramfer Greek, gramfrey gravy, granny picker, gramfy wig. Butcher boy, butchy boy, curly baker, billy baker, billy button, belly button, 100-leg, bally, roundy, shut the door. Wood shrimp, monkey peed, monkey peanut, monkey pea and pea monkey, pea as in the plant, not the substance that woodlice produce as a gas, not a liquid, likewise in pea bug and pea roller. Nut bug, ash bug, cheese bug, cheesy bug, cheesy bob, cheese log, cheese rocker, cheesy grandad, combining two of the name themes, cheese and grandparents. Dumpling bug, donkey bug, little donkey, little armadillo, garden armadillo, crunchy bat, harp. About a fifth of the known names for woodlice are pig-related. Fat pig, chunky pig, chubbly pig, chooky pig, chucky pig, chuggy pig, chuggy pig, chiggy pig, chicky pig, chisel hog. Tree pig, floor pig, sow bug, grey sow, grammar sow. That's me! No, it's probably a corruption of grandma again. It's also the similar gamma zow. Grampy pig, penny sow, hog louse, pig beast, slunker pig, jacky pig. Apparently this is a reference to Jack being a call to pigs. Kerry pig, paddy pig, parson's pig, pig parson, soda pig, fuzzy pig, wood pig, tiggy hog, tiddy hog, piggy wig, pigeen, little pig, soul pig, God's pig, St. Anthony's pig. St. Anthony was the patron saint of swineherds, and St. Anthony's pig was an expression for the smallest pig in the litter. But let's not forget, these are not pigs, they're woodlice. Hobbling Andrew, Cudworm, Clock, Snot, Tank, Tick-Tock, Pishamare, Ogobogo, Mouse daughter-in-law, Rat's daughter-in-law. Does this mean the rat and the mouse are married and it's the same daughter-in-law? Coffin Cutter, Horny Golak, Bibblebug, Lockchester, Palmer, Horace, Chisselbob, Chiselball, Curly Button, Cobber, Crawler, Jovial Lice, Little Wet One, Flump. Those were some of the many nicknames for woodlice. Credit to academics Warren Maguire and Tam Blackster, who a few years ago ran a survey to collect woodlouse names. I can't tell if they're still working on it, but it is still open if you have one to submit. Because several of the woodlice names were cheese-related, we now have a list of Great British and Irish cheeses. Abbey Blueberry, Abbey Smoked Brie, Adelstrop, Admiral Collingwood, Audrun, Achet, Aldwych Goat, Allerdale, Amber Mist, Applebee's Cheshire, Applebee's Double Gloucester, Appledore, Applewood, Archie's Choice, Ardagh Castle, Arkleby, Ardsala, Ashcombe, Ashdown Foresters, Ashmore Farmhouse, Ayton, Badentoy Blue, Bagborough Brie, Bakesy Meadow, Balcombe Breeze, Ballintubber, Ballyblue, Ballybree, Ballyhooly Blue, Ballyoak, Baltic, Barkham Blue, Barkham Chase, Baron Bygod, Basilano, Bath Blue, Bath Soft Cheese, Beacon Blue, not to be confused with the band Deacon Blue, but can be confused with the Blue Goat's milk cheese called Blackstick Blue because that is the same cheese with different branding. Beacon Fell Traditional Lancashire, Bowvale, Beanley Blue, Beer, Bellingham Blue, Belstone, Beltane, Barkswell, Berwick Edge, Bird Oswald, Birdwood Blue Heaven, Bishop Kennedy, Bishop's Tump, Bix, Black Bomber, Black Crowdy, Black Dub Blue, Black-Eyed Susan, Blackmount, Blacksticks White, Blaliath, Bleddington Blue, Blissful Buffalo, Blue Cheshire, Blue Clouds, Blue Hills, Blue Knoll, Blue Monday, the cheese co-created by Alex James, the worst member of the Blur Band. Blue Moon, Blue Murder, Blue Vinny, Blue Wensleydale, Blue Winnow, Blyton. Buckhaddon Farm, Bonchester, Bovey Strait, Brevibach, Brevida, Brendan Blue, Brighton Blue, Brightwell Ash, Brinkburn, Brunswick Blue, Buffalo Blue, Burwash Rose, Buttercup, Buxlow 1 Mill, Buxton Blue. Cabbuck, Caerphilly, Cales Porter, Cairnsmore, Caithness, Campscott Goat, Capricorn Goat. That just means goat. Cark, Carlow, Carrigaline, Cashel Blue. Last year I went to the Cashel Blue Dairy for a cheese tasting, and may I recommend that jaunt to you if you happen to be in Southern Ireland and like cheese. They even make their own vegetarian rennet they grow in the flower bed in the car park. Caws Cynarth Caerphilly, Caws Kerwin, Caws Igrai, Caws Nantibula, Caws Preselli, Celeste, Celtic Capra, Celtic Promise, Cerny Pyramid, Charlton, Chattel, Cheddar, Shemmy, named after Olympic skier Shemmy Alcott, Cheshire, Cheshire Blue, Chevington, Cheviot, Chipple, Claver, Clochenditer, Colston, Bassett, Stilton, Cooley, Coolini, Coquetdale, Corinium, Corleggy, Cornish Blue, Cornish Crumbly, Cornish Kern, Cornish Smuggler, Cornish Yarg, Corallin, Coathill Blue, Cotherstone, Cotswold, Cotswold Blue, Cotswold Stone, Cowslip, Coverdale, Crannock, Cratlow Hills, Cremet, Cricket St Thomas Bree, Criffle, Crofton, Croglin, Cromwell, Cropwell Bishop Stilton, Crowdy, Crozier Blue, Cuddy's Cave, Cumberland Farmhouse, Kerworthy. Dambuster, Dartmoor, Daru, Dalesford Cheddar, Dazel Ash, which won Supreme Champion at the British and Irish Cheese Awards 2026. D-Cider, Delamere Distinctive, Derby, Desmond, Devon Blue, Devon Maid, Devon Oak, Devon Sage, Deliscus, Dimpsey, Ditcheat Hill Cheddar, Doddington, Doddington Baltic, Doolin, Dorset Blue Vinny, Dorset Red, Dorstone, Double Berkeley, Double Gloucester, Double Worcester, Dragon's Back. Trebisant, Driftwood, Dromana, Drumlin, Drumloch Wheel, Dubliner, Duckett's Caerphilly, Duddleswell, Duhallow, Dunbara, Dunlop, Dunsire Blue, Durras, Dutchman. Eggleston Reserve, Eldrin, Elgar Mature, Elmhurst, Elric Log, Emerald, Eve, you, as in the sheep, eat me. It's a pun. You eat me. Okay. Exmoor Blue, Fairlight, Farley Wallop, Fine Fettle Yorkshire, used to be called Yorkshire Feta, but EU rules now mean all feta has to be produced in Greece. Fingles, Finn, 5 Mile Town Cheddar, Flower Marie, Ford Farm Cave Age Cheddar, Fossway Fleece, Fowler's Derby Sage, Fowler's Forest Blue, Gabriel, Gallybagger, the name is from an Isle of Wight word for scarecrow, Gevrick, Glebe Brethan, Godminster, Golden Canarth, Golden Cross, Goldilocks, Goodwield, Gortnamona, Gwyth Caerphilly, Graceburn, Granite City, Gabine, Guinevere, Gunhill, Gunstone Goat, Harvard Cheddar, Hampshire Rose, Harborne Blue, Hardy's Hard Cheese, Harefield, Harlech, Harrogate Blue, Harvest Moon, Hawes's Wensleydale, Hawkston, Heckfield, Heligan, Hereford Hop, Hibernia, Highmore, Huntsman, Yambors, The Idle Hour, Immochilly Regato, Innis Ashlog, Innis Button, Innis Leaf, Inverloch, Iona Crumac, Isle of Mull, Isle of Wight Blue, Isle of Wight Borthwood, Isle of Wight Soft, Junus, Caldy, Cast, Kebbuck, Keen's Cheddar, Kelsey. Yes, there's a cheese, but the really famous food product of that name is one of the world's biggest types of onion. It can grow to 2 feet in diameter. Kelsey Lane, Kelston Park, Celtic Gold, yeah, Celtic with a K, Kentish Blue, Kerry Blue, Kidderton Ash, Kielder, Kilcummin, Killeen Cow, Killeen Goat, Killycronan, Kingcup Blue, Kirkham's Lancashire, Knockalara, Knockanore, Knockatee, Knockdrinner, Lammas, Lanark Blue, Lanark White, Lancashire, Lancashire Mrs. Kirkham's, Lavistown, Leicester, Levendown, Lightwood Chaser, Lincolnshire Poacher, Lincolnshire Red, Lindham, Little Derby, Little Hereford, Little Rollright, Little Riding, Little She, Little Stinky, Little Erne, named after England's victory over Australia in the 2005 Ashes. I know England's been hard up for Ashes victories, but leave the cheeses out of it. Little Wallop, Llanboidy, Llangoffen, Loch Arthur, Lord London, Loosehanger, Lord of the Hundreds, Lyburn Gold, Maida Vale, Meehan, Maisie's Kebbuck, Morris, Mayfield, Mayhill Green, Meldon, Manalloch Farmhouse, Merrywife, Milleen's Dote, Millstone, Meangower, Minger, Miss Muffet, Molecombe Blue, Monkland, Montgomery's Cheddar, Moonshine, Morton, Morndew, Mornish, Mossfield, Mount Callan, Mr. Holmes's Pomfret, Mrs. Bell's Blue, Mrs. Finn, Mull of Kintyre, Nanny Blue, New Forest Blue, Norfolk Dapple, Norfolk White Lady, Norsworthy, Northumberland, Oakdown, Oakwood, Ogleshield, Osheen Goat, Old Burford, Old Roan Wensleydale, Old Sarum, Old Winchester, Old Worcester White, Old Gloucester, it's oldie with an E, Old Sussex, Orkney, Oxford Blue, Oxford Isis. It's a river there, it's not the organisation. Paddy Jack, Pantisgarn, Parlick Fell, Partridge's Blue, Pendragon, Pennard Red, Pennard Ridge Red, Pennard Smoked, Pennard Vale, Penistone, Pearl Lass, Pearl Wen, Perroche, Pevensey Blue, Pitchfork, Polmesk, Pontgar Blue, Pontgar White, Posbury Puddle, Purple Vale, Pichtel, supposedly an old word meaning a small plot of land or small field, and apparently this evolved into the word piddle to mean something small and trifling, which I had assumed came from the urination meaning of piddle, but no, that came after the small word, and is maybe unrelated anyway, deriving from the Old English piddle, which meant a small watercourse. Quantock Blue, Quenby Hall Stilton, Quick's Extra Mature, Quick's Hard Goat, Rachel, Ragstone, Rainbow's Gold, Rebel Nun, Red Cheshire, Red Leicester, Red Windsor, Reaver, Renegade Monk, Ribblesdale Chago, Ribblesdale Honeygoat, Ribblesdale Original, Ringwell, Risley, Rollright, Rosary, Ruby Gold, Sage Derby, St Bede, St Brendan, St Bridget, St Kira, St Edburger, St Egwin, St Ella, St Gall, St George, St Giles, St Helena, St James, St Jude, St Kenelm. St Kenelm was a 9th century king who may have been age 7 or age 35 or somewhere in between at the time he was murdered, thanks to a conspiracy between his sister and her lover. They hid his body, but a magical cow kept watch over the grave until after many years, people finally wondered, why is that cow always sitting there? And how come its udders are always full of milk, even though it never eats anything? And upon further investigation, there they discovered Kenelm's corpse and carried him to the abbey, whereupon his sister's eyes fell out onto her prayer book. One traditional way of celebrating St. Kenelm's Day is throwing crab apples at a priest. St. Keverne, St. Kevin, St. Kilian, St. Oswald, St. Tola. Sandrum, Saval, Shakespeare. Sharpham, Sharpham Elmhurst, Sharpham Rustic, Sharpham Saver, Sheep's Milk Wensleydale, Sheep Rustler, Shepherd's Crook, Shipcord, Shropshire Blue, Single Gloucester, Synodon Hill, Sister Sarah, Six Spires, Skegness Blue, Slow Tavy, Smoked Pendragon, Snodsbury Goat, Snowdonia, Snowdrop, Solstice, Somerset, Somerset Blue, Spenwood, Sperrin Blue, Stitchelton, Stitchel, Stilton. In 2010, we were filming an Answer Me This related video in the village of Stilton at their annual cheese rolling event and learned the following harrowing fact. The cheese that is rolled is not made of cheese at all. It is a piece of log, approximately the size of a wheel of Stilton. And people have the gall to complain and make laws about vegan cheeses being called cheese. Stinking Bishop, Scythians, Stratton Blue, Suffolk Blue, Suffolk Gold, Sussex Blossom, Sussex Blue, Sussex Charmer, Sussex Marble, Sussex Scrumpy, Sussex Slipcut, Sussex Yeoman, Swaledale, Swaledale Goat, Sweet Charlotte, Sykes Fell, Taraban, Tavy, Temple Gall, Tesin, Teviotdale, Ticklemore, Tintern, Tipperary Blue, Toppenrose Gold, Tor, Trelawney, Tremaines, Trickle, Triskel, Trotter Hill, Tunworth, Twynham, Timsborough, Village Green Goat, Vintage Red Fox, Viper's Grass, Vulscombe, Wakebridge, Warwickshire Truckle, Washburn, Waterloo, Wealden, Wealdway, Wedmore, Weecomrie, Wensleydale, West Country Farmhouse Cheddar, Westcombe Cheddar, White Hart, White Lake, White Nancy, White Stilton, one of my least favourite cheeses, Whitehaven, Wigmore, Wild Garlic Yarg, Wiltshire Loaf, Windrush, Winslade, Winterdale Shore, Witheridge, Withybrook, Wittenham, Woolsery English Goat, Wife of Bath, with a Y, Yarg. Yarg is such a fun word to say, and Yarg is a nettle-wrapped cheese, so I thought, is Yarg named after the noise you make when you chomp down on a stinging nettle? So I looked it up, and all Yarg is the word grey spelled backwards, after Alan and Jenny Gray, the cheesemakers who started making Yarg commercially in the 1980s, apparently using a recipe from the year 1615. Yarlington, Eveny, Yoredale, Yorkshire Blue, and Urav. Those were some of the many cheeses from Ireland and Great Britain. Your randomly selected word from the dictionary today is fugacious, adjective, poetic or literary, tending to disappear, fleeting. Try using fugacious in an email today, like, if attending a party, Helen Zaltzman is fugacious. This episode was produced by me, Helen Zaltzman, on the unceded and traditional territory of the Musqueam, Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh nations. The music is by Martin Austwick of palebirdmusic.com and the experimental podcast Neutrino Watch. Listen to or read every episode, tranquil or not, get more information about the topics therein, see full dictionary entries for the randomly selected words, and become a member of the Allusionist to help keep this independent podcast going, and to receive extra perks, all at the show's forever home, theallusionist.org.